Just because there is a permit rule that has allowed traffic onto the network doesn't mean that this is good traffic. You have to take a deeper look at what this traffic, what the packets are doing. And that is the job of an IPS and IDS, to take a deeper look and find out, is this malicious? Let's use our imagination for a second. What if you had older operating systems in your environment? Nobody does, right? But let's imagine that you do have older operating systems. There might be a known CVE out there that someone can exploit. The firewall should be able to stop this, but it doesn't just happen with the access policy. You also need an intrusion policy. You can deploy these firewalls just as an IPS in that use case, but you can also deploy a properly sized firewall to do both of those use cases and potentially more. Today, we're going to explore the intrusion policy because it's important to take a deeper look at what is happening and to find out what is the intent. This is why we have a detection engine that is constantly looking and constantly being updated to see what is going on that might be malicious out there, that is targeting your hosts, your endpoints that are on the network that you think are safe. Just because you have that permit rule doesn't mean you are safe. Let's take a look at the inspection policy. We are back in the Cisco Security Cloud Control. Let's go over to our Cloud Delivered FMC. We'll click on Policies and Firewall Threat Defense to get there to the Policy section. The policies that we are on are our access control policies. If you missed the video on access control policies, go back to the channel and check it out. Today, we're going to take a brief look at the intrusion policy. So we'll click on Policies, we'll click on Intrusion. And this will bring us to the intrusion policies that you have configured. For me, I have a single policy that's out there. It's called DAVNet_IPS. You can name your policy whatever you want. Definitely give it a description. Don't be like me. Now, this policy is based on a policy that's out of the box that is balanced security and connectivity. We'll jump into that momentarily. Now, this policy that I've created is on 2 devices out there, and there's 2 versions of Snort, Snort 2 and Snort 3, and you're like, what the heck is Snort? Snort is the detection engine behind the intrusion, behind what's going on, the deep inspection of all the packets that are going through the network that have this intrusion policy on them. There are some differences between Snort 2 and Snort 3. There are some efficiencies to be gained by going over to Snort 3. Efficiencies for the hardware. There are some additional benefits. I'm not going to dive into that, but one of the things that I will say is that if you have the opportunity to go Snort 3 with your hardware, that is definitely something to take a look at that I recommend if your hardware is capable. Let's click on the Snort 3 version because I want to see that rule set. It's definitely different than the Snort 2 side. We'll click Dismiss here, and we can see out of the box right here, I haven't really touched anything. The rule distribution, the alerting, what rules are alerting? We have 479 rules that are alerting. We have 9,698 rules that are set to block, and we have over 42,000 rules that are disabled. You're probably asking, David, did you manually do all this stuff? Definitely not. Luckily for us, for Cisco Secure Firewall, we have Cisco Talos that is on top of these things constantly, taking a look at the threats that are out there in the world. And they're the ones that are updating these things automatically, not just for the Cisco Secure Firewall, but across the ecosystem. If you have some time, check out talosintelligence.com. You'll learn a lot there. Now, this is out of the box, and you'll notice that I have some recommendations here that are not in use. Now, typically, if you have an on-prem FMC, what happens is that the firewall can build a map of what's going on the network. What are the hosts? What are the operating systems it sees? Now, what you would do is you would deploy those recommendations usually, because those recommendations will enable and disable rules depending on what it sees on the network, what those hosts have, and the different operating systems, the different vulnerabilities that are out there. Now, that is currently not supported with the CDFMC, but if you have the ability to do it with the on-prem FMC, definitely check it out. Now, you have the ability to go in and you can customize rules. You can do all those different things. Let's go over to rule overrides real quick, and we'll click on just all rules, and we'll just pull up just Linux as an example. And we'll give that a second. And we can see there are 302 rules that are mentioning it. There's a lot of block rules. And then we'll get to our disabled rules momentarily. If there's something out there that I definitely want to enable, I can enable this. I can find out more about what's going on with the rule. What is this rule made up? What is the skeleton of this rule? I can see all that information and I can do my customizations as needed to the rules. I'm not going to jump into that, but perhaps at your organization, you have some folks who are definitely looking to jump into these things and start customizing according to your environment. That is definitely something you can do. I'm not going to touch this today, but let's go over back to policies. We're going to create a new policy, and we'll name this example secure IPS. Give it a description, but I'm not. We have detection and prevention. I do want prevention. And here is that base policy that I mentioned earlier. We have a couple of options here. Security over connectivity, maximum detection, connectivity over security, balanced security and connectivity, which is what I'm using. You can base your new policy on one of these options, and you can also base it on another policy that you currently have. Now, maximum detection, that's probably going to enable most of those rules that you saw that were disabled previously. Definitely something that you have to be careful with. I would say try things out in a lab before you go out to production. You also have connectivity over security. That's going to disable a lot more rules. Perhaps you're more interested in just connectivity. Pretty much that's what it says. Let's have some fun here. I just want to take a look at the numbers for maximum detection. Let's do that. We'll click save, and we'll have another policy out there that I can apply to my access policy rules. We'll give this a second to complete. Here we have our example secure IPS. Let's take a look at Snort 3 there. We'll dismiss this. And now we can see some rule differences here in the rule distribution. Alerting, 1,377, a couple hundred more. Blocking, 41,000 now. And I've only disabled 9,797. Definitely some differences. This can make some differences in production. That's why it's important to try these things out in the lab. And again, you can customize, you can enable, you can do some rule overrides depending on what's going on in your environment. If you have an FMC that's on-prem, take advantage of those rule recommendations that are taking a look at the network map, at the host map that's out there, what you really have in production. That's important. Now, we won't spend too much time customizing things today, but I wanted to at least give you a tour of where the policy is created and how to apply the policy. So we'll go back out to our access control policy. We'll select our main DAVnet policy, which is the one that I'm using. And then we'll see our different rules that are out there. You'll notice the little shield. The little shield tells you what intrusion policy is currently being used. So if I click on this, I have the opportunity to change this for that particular rule set. And pretty much that's the in and out, the basics of intrusion policy. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I'll see you on the next one.